Now, I had been out there the week before to do stuff there. Our light behind us just turned off.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices, and this is Mike.
Hey, guys.
Mike is our video editor and a very longtime friend who hasn't been on camera yet. And he thought
not on this channel.
not on this channel. And he thought it would be a good idea to bring alcohol, fun alcohol, not like can't wake up tomorrow alcohol. So in today's video, we are going to be sharing some real-life paranormal experiences that we have had over the years.
Yeah, it's we've had a few couple collectively. I've had a lot of them, mostly because I was a really dumb child and didn't know when to say no to dangerous things. So would you like to kick it off?
Yeah, because my first one is like not even that crazy. It's just like a little awkward. I always say that like I watch a lot of paranormal investigation shows and I would love to be a paranormal investigator, but because I have a child, I'm not comfortable with this possibility of like bringing some stuff home. I would love to do that. It is dangerous though. It's dangerous for a lot of reasons. You could get hurt. There could be real people in there. Like a lot of bad things can happen. So I would love to do it. It looks like so much fun. And I'd be curious to see how much of a chicken I actually am given real life situations. So my first story, because I only have a couple, is when I was probably about 6 or 7 years old, maybe 8 at the oldest. I went to stay with my cousin at my grandmother's house on my mother's side. And my grandfather had passed away when I don't actually have any memories of him. So it had to be before I was like 3 or 4 years old. I was really little. And so one of the things that there was like a bunch of people over because there were some people from out of town. So there was a lot of us staying in the house, but of course the kids stayed up the latest. And so I remember like we were walking and we walked to the back and we were like getting ready to go to bed, but we stayed up and we watched TV. We were the only ones awake. And we had the door closed to the bedroom that we were staying in. And we had there had been some subtle things before that didn't really make any sense because I think we were kids and it kind of freaked us out. We just kind of dismissed it. But the door did this very bizarre, like it turned, and it is an older house. So I'm taking that into account as I'm telling this, but the knob on the door turned and it opened, but it opened like, just like this far, almost like someone sticking their head in to like check on their kids. Mm-hmm. And then it closed and the knob went back to normal. And so I was like, nope, I'm never staying here again. It scared me so bad, but it was interesting because that was always the room that the kids stayed in that house. So it was very much like, I just kind of felt like it was probably just like a check-in thing. But I started to notice when I was older, I would have pictures of my grandmother sitting in this chair or like standing in the kitchen. And in every picture that I ever took of her on those little like one-time use cameras, there was always this like white outline of something standing over her shoulder. And it wasn't in every single picture. Like I could take 2 back to back of her sitting in a chair and it would be there in one and then it wouldn't be there in another. And I remember like going back and looking at those pictures and just kind of feeling like, well, maybe it was him. Like maybe it was my grandfather. Maybe he was checking on the kids. I don't know. It was I remember being that little. And at that point, I didn't really believe in that stuff. But there was always that possibility of it being real that made it scary. So it was weird. I didn't go over there for a really long time after.
I can't really blame you. I mean, like, regardless of, what age you are, stuff, unexpected things can be pretty scary.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
I have a few stories too, but I want to set the stage a little bit because all of these stories. So I'm from South Georgia, born and raised. Spent most of my life because I haven't quite spent half of my life up here in Atlanta yet. But there wasn't a whole lot to do down in South Georgia except get into trouble, and we got into plenty of trouble. But there was a particular road which was named locally as Seven Churches Road. Legend has it that there were 7 churches on this road where the settlement of Albany actually started, the plantations and whatnot, all that good stuff. It did not have 7 churches on that stretch of road when I was living down there, although it still had, for like a 5-mile road, it had an obscene number of churches. There were 4 visible. 2 of them were still in use. So, but this road, which is now closed to the public, so don't try to go there unless you really want to get shot, because the farmers there will shoot you. Had a buddy of mine go down there probably 5-6 years ago and came back with holes in his truck. So, legit, they will shoot you.
Yeah, no trespassing.
No trespassing. But at the time that I was living there, it was a public access road. And part of the reason why it got closed is because the newspaper ran an article about all the hauntings and stuff there for like a Halloween edition.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, all those good old boys with their big old trucks, they'd start roaring
tearing through it.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So it pretty much ruined everything. They're just can't have anything nice. Anyway, not that a haunted road would be nice. But so one night, early in my experiences with this road, I was driving, and at the time I was driving my truck, which had a CD player that worked sometimes, but so I would mostly listen to the radio.
I do not like where this is going. Go ahead.
And but the radio didn't really work that well on that road. And the song "Total Eclipse of My Heart" came on. And
I'm so uncomfortable already.
Yeah.
I'm like, I haven't heard this story. I think you said none of these I've heard, right?
None of these you've heard.
So this
before.
won't be this will be like my first. I'm listening with you guys.
So it has that nice little that nice little chorus. It says "turn around," and for copyright reasons, it won't go further. But for not copyright reasons, it kept kind of buzzing out a bit in between. So I just kept on hearing "turn around, zzz, turn around, zzz, turn around," and then all of a sudden, I was like, "Well, that's weird." And then 30 seconds later, my truck turns off. My truck, which had taken me everywhere, no problems up to this point, turns off. Here's something about this road. There are no streetlights.
Oh my God.
And also, you've never been
You've never
even seen the pictures.
I'm not interested. Well, I'll look at pictures. I would never,
It's all old growth oak down there. So it's all like this canopy. Y'all have seen the pictures of the old South and whatnot with the old growth oak making the nice beautiful arches with the Spanish moss over the carefully manicured avenues. Yeah, this shit was a dirt road. And it still had the oaks. And during the day, it really was quite nice. But at night, not so much. Even in a full moon, you couldn't see anything. So my first reaction is to stay the hell in the car.
Yeah.
I've seen the movies. I know what happens to people that get out of the car.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I'm staying in the car. What felt like a long time, but still probably only about 30-45 seconds later, my truck turns back on. And my headlights turn on. To a deer in the middle of the road.
Oh my God.
This deer...
Did that scare you? That had to startle you.
Well, it sure as hell scared me because it wasn't alive, Angel.
Oh.
It had been deadified by what I'm still hoping is a pack of coyotes. However, it was very quickly in my way, very quickly very dead and very bloody. with blood all over.
And obviously it wasn't there before because you would have seen it before the truck cut off. Right. Yeah.
So you can imagine.
Yeah.
First you say it, then you do it. And y'all have seen, I'm sure y'all have seen Dukes of Hazzard where the Hazard boys turn the general lead around on a dime. And you think it's movie magic. It's not. They actually did it because I did it. I got way the hell out of there. So yeah, that was one of my early experiences of being threatened with a dead animal.
What the fuck?
So obviously I went back there probably about 100 more times.
God, know what else is going on. When you first said there was a deer, I thought you meant like it was just like chilling and like standing there looking at you. Like that's what I thought you meant.
Well,
I wasn't thinking like.
I mean, it was facing me.
Right. Yeah.
And probably if it still had eyes, it would have. Yeah. No, it was mostly gore. It was bad.
Yeah.
And I don't do well with gore.
Yeah.
But I was a lot better about it then, and so I was more like terrified than
versus
just
sick, like yeah.
You.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, so that was one of my early ventures down there.
That sounds scary. Yeah, so we live in Atlanta, and there is a ghost tour, of course, that takes you around like is it Midtown?
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes you around Midtown. And when you start the tour, the sun is still up. I guess it probably depends on when you go as far as the seasons, but when we went, it was still daytime. And so it was 4 of us. It was myself, Mike, his wife, my other best friend, and then the guy that I was seeing at the time. And we were like, this could be so much fun, And you don't get to go into any of the buildings. It's all from the street. And they're talking about the stuff and telling you all these stories about whatever happens. So there's kind of this is like 2 stories in one, I guess. There's no point really splitting them up. But when you start out as daytime, I don't even remember what was significant about this place that we stopped at. I don't remember any of the story. I don't remember why we were there. But on the way through this ghost walk, we stop at this pretty small house-looking building with a slab concrete porch on the front, not covered or anything. And Mike has got his camera and he's taking pictures. We're not allowed to go inside. And he takes his camera and he puts his camera inside the bars, just taking pictures, see if we catch anything, right? So everyone, like you do, right? And so everyone at this point has walked away from me. And I'm in the process of leaving this slab. I'm just about to rejoin the group. And I feel this tug on my pocket. And my instinct, right away, I'm just one of them is going to be behind me messing with me. It's going to be this big joke. There was no one around me. Everyone else was right in front of me. I don't know, not that far, but far enough. And I was just nope, don't like that. So I walk away and I go and join them. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't long after that Mike starts going through the pictures on his camera, right? We did that right after. And he had captured, well, I'll let you tell what you captured.
So little context to this. This building was the last residential Victorian home in Midtown.
Oh, okay.
There's another Victorian home several blocks north on the street over, but it's actually zoned for commercial. This was actually a residential house.
Yeah, like a home.
Yeah, and it was the last Victorian residential house in Midtown.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember what it was.
So that's why it was significant. And the estate would not sell to the city, and to this day still will not sell to the city. So it's just kind of,
hanging out,
sitting there. So I took a picture inside, and it was this outline and a few minor details. You know how ghosts get. They're kind of
camera shy.
Yeah, a little camera shy. Of what looked like a boy. I know what you're thinking, Mike. It couldn't have been a boy. It had to have been a girl because that's what the movies say. All Victorian homes had that.
Haunted by little girls.
Haunted by a little Victorian girl who died of I don't know, smallpox or something. One of the maybe polio. I don't know. One of them. Whatever. It was a boy.
It was.
It was definitely a boy. And
And that's what it felt like. It felt like this very childlike acknowledgement
Yeah.
of like, hey, excuse me.
So
Like it literally felt like someone had stuck their thumb like inside my back pocket and had like tugged on my jeans.
and one of the really funny parts about this story, like it's pretty creepy because you know, you take a picture and you're like, you don't expect a face to be staring at you. So I showed the tour guide, and she freaked the hell out.
The person who like takes you,
like she's like halfway bored with it. This is probably her like
millionth
one.
Yeah,
and she's just like, yeah, this is all right. Moving on. And I show her the picture, and she's like, what the hell is this? I'm like, yeah, I just took it. And she's like, no, you didn't. And I'm like, yeah, I did. She was like, this is amazing. This is insane. That's creepy as shit. What?
I was gonna say, you know who was not super impressed with this photo? The person who just had their pocket tugged. I was like, nope.
She was nonplussed about it, as was my wife. My wife was like, all right, it's time to go.
Moving on to the next piece.
Yeah. So no, that was a lot of fun. We actually started the Ellis Hotel, which in 1952 had was on fire, and I think it was 1952. It might have been earlier. I can't remember.
I remember the fire story.
Dates are confusing. I'm bad at math. But the simpler part of the math is the ladders from the fire department only went up to the 7th floor, and it was 10 stories tall. So to escape the fire, several people jumped out of their windows and fell to their deaths onto the
Isn't there like a, and maybe I'm mistaken.
There's a plaque that talks about it.
Well, but I was going to say, isn't there like, because it's still a running hotel.
Yeah.
So you can still go there, but like, isn't there like maybe not a room. Is there like a floor?
Yeah,
anything
8
and above, where it's like really active. Like people have a lot of experiences there because so many people died in that fire.
Yeah, it was a tragedy. Yeah. It was one of the worst fires in Atlanta in which the entire city did not burn down.
So at the beginning of the tour, she was like, "Oh, and if you download this app, you'll get like words from the spirits, kind of like an Ovilus, but it's an app." One of the things that they always say happens in these like hospitals, these old buildings where people didn't follow the law, they did kind of their own thing with their medical stuff or their experiments or surgeries or whatever. Abortion always comes up. It's always one of those things where they're like, oh yeah, and in the basement they did like it's always something that comes up with these types of places. Yeah. And I'll be damned if as soon as we get like anywhere near that fucking building, the word mommy came up on the whatever that app was, and I was just like like a fetus ghost would say. You know what I'm saying though? Yeah. Like it's just one of those things where it's like it was relevant but kind of like at the same time, I don't know, it was creepy.
Yeah, and it was just that the place that she's about to talk about, it had a lot of different things.
Yeah,
that it was. It was a hospital, then it was an office building, then it was a medical.
It was a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
So, and of course, with these ghost tours, the facts and the events sometimes are kind of stretched a little bit, exaggerated, or as told.
Which doesn't mean 100% honesty.
Right.
Yeah.
So
there's fluff.
Yeah, they're like, as I understand it.
Yeah, or they're sharing other people's experiences too, right? So it's like you don't know if someone just blatantly just made some shit up or what the situation is.
Now, I do know that it was part of the Georgia State medical science building because number one, my dad took classes there because he described the parking deck that was right behind it. Also, it says medical science on the front of the facade. So, yeah.
So when we got to this building, it was nighttime. It was almost night. Like the sun had almost completely gone. And so Melinda, my best friend, my wife, is standing kind of away from us, and we're like, we're gonna go closer. And so that's what we did. So myself and this guy that I was dating at the time, like we literally walk up to these doors, and it's like what, like a parking lot, like a dirt parking lot behind ours. Yeah, like behind us. Like there's it
isn't intentionally dirt, it's mostly asphalt, but
But it's kind of like a broken, like, parking lot. Yeah. And so we go up, and of course, like, again, you can't go in these buildings. It's super dangerous. It would be a huge liability to go on these tours and be able to go in these places. But, like, we're all, like, literally the three of us are standing in a row, and we're standing in front of this door, like, not very far from it, and all in, like, the same breath, the three of us, like, simultaneously take one step back. And we both, like, I think all three of us, I don't remember what Gary said, but I know, like, we talked about, like, I felt like this immense amount of pressure on my chest. That was this, like, almost like a push, but not like a physical push, just an emotional one. And it was, and, like, my eyes were watered. I think all of our eyes were watered. Like, it was just this very bizarre moment of, like, we need to back away from this door. And so I'm like, I'm good. And so, like, I go to walk. They stay, Mike and Gary stay behind, and I go up to Melinda. And Melinda is doing this very creepy ass thing where she's standing, like, I don't know, 10 feet, 15 feet away from us towards the beginning of the parking lot. And she's just looking up like this, which is very creepy. And I was like, and I called her name. I don't actually remember how many times. It's been a long time ago. But I called her name. I said, Melinda, like, I called her name. And it wasn't until I was right up on her that she goes like this. And when she looks at me, tears are streaming down her face. She never saw me or heard me come up. And I was just like, yeah, it's time. I'm done. We're done. We're going home now. Right. Like, and it was just one of those things where, like, I don't know what made us feel that way, but we were all impacted by that. Like, and we didn't even go inside. That was just a freaking parking lot. Like, I didn't care for that shit at all.
So, yeah, I mean, it was a really, like, when we were looking at the door, for me, it felt like something was about to come out, so I needed to move back.
Yeah,
like, to get
it was like
out of
you
the
felt
way of
like you were
whatever.
being like warned, or I guess forewarned of, like, just an event or something. Yeah, it was very bizarre.
Yeah, it was really weird.
It was weird.
I remember it I remember the feelings more than I remember the actual events. Yeah. But yeah, it was very very odd. Couple more stories that I have from Seven Churches, and I have so many. I have hundreds of these stories.
I've heard several.
With both on my own and also with friends. And so, if there are any comic artists that want to get into horror comics and have, like, a series or something, hit us up.
He's got the stories. I will write them.
You draw them. We're good.
Perfect.
Yeah, we'll make gazillions. We'll find.
It would be a series. It'd be like multiple like things.
We'll be richer than Jeff Bezos and ride an even bigger space stick up into space. Anyway.
Space stick into space.
Oh, I digress. Anyway, so one of my favorite spots there are two spots that I absolutely loved to go to. One, because I felt at home there. Even though a bunch of people were like, man, hell no, I'm not going near that house. The other one is a church I'll get to in just a second. The first house, though, so back in the 1800s, there was an epidemic of scarlet fever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That came through Albany, and one of the things about scarlet fever is that you just had to quarantine. If you were infected, you had to quarantine. But that also meant quarantining with your family, which also meant infecting your family, which also meant killing your family.
Right.
So there was a house like that, and
you are not drinking your beverage.
Sorry. Trying to remember, not forget.
If I'm gonna get a headache, I would like some company along the way.
Yeah. So we so this house situated off the road. You have to, like, take another road down, and there's a family cemetery, and then this house just kind of a little bit further down. You can see it from the cemetery and all. I love to sit and park next to the cemetery because what I would do, and when I had people with me, I loved doing this because it made them super uncomfortable. I would turn the car off, roll down the windows next to the cemetery, and just have everybody sit in silence. And a few minutes after that, you start hearing conversations. You start hearing
outside the vehicle.
You start hearing horses. You start hearing people walking around and walking past the car, and having these conversations that have nothing to do with you, by the way.
It's like you're not there.
Right.
Yeah.
And then occasionally the lights in the house, well, not lights, but lanterns, the lanterns will glow. And those are the nights that you can kind of approach the house. You can't go in the house because it'll fall apart. But you can go near the house and you don't feel like skeeved. It's one of the very few places where you feel comfort and hospitality. Everywhere else you feel like you are not
supposed to be there, right?
However, if you approach the house when you don't see the glow, bad things tend to happen. So one of my friends got out of his car one night and walked up towards the house, and when he got back to his car, he all of a sudden he felt like I need to get out of here. So he got back to his car, and there's scratches all over his arms that are bleeding, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that ever again." And I mean, I told him not to. To be fair, I told him not to. He did anyway. But the craziest place is what we call the dark church. You've heard one or two things about the dark church.
I have.
Now, this church, there are legends and stories. There are legends and stories about all these churches because anytime a building exists for a number of years, there's going to be legends, there's going to be stories, there's going to be
something
stuff
about it that's like, yeah.
The only thing that, there's stories about how the church was built on top of another church that had been burned down because the pastor there had gone crazy, locked the parishioners in the church, and burned the church down. There are other stories along those lines, and the story about that goes that the only thing that survived was the Bible that they read they read the gospel from, and that transferred to the new church, and you can't actually take out the Bible from the church without it doing some really, really terrible shit to you. I never tested that theory, and yes, there was a Bible in that church.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how true any of those things are.
Right.
It could very well be that Bible was just left by somebody and then told as a legend.
Sure, right.
What I do know is that weird stuff happened around that church. You know the sodium mercury lights that they use in street lamps that last like 6 years and never go out?
Yeah.
The county would have to replace them every 6 weeks because they would burn out in 6 weeks.
Dang.
They replaced the transformers. The street lights on the other side were fine.
It was just the ones around the church.
Just the ones around the church. There were 3 of them that kept going out.
Churches.
They actually replaced the actual fixture because they were thinking maybe there's something in the board that's causing this, so they replaced the fixtures, still would go out. Anytime you brought like a light emitting source, like a flashlight or phone or whatever, it tended to die in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Not seconds, but
that's good.
But
it just takes all the energy goes away.
Right. It just sucks the energy. Like there's this innervation field around it. It's really weird. And it makes empaths and people who are empathetic but not necessarily empaths. I don't consider myself an empath, but I'm a very empathetic person. It just drains the energy out of me. It just drains my soul. So yes, that's the dark church. One of the best stories that I can tell about that is we actually went there during the day one day because we only went there during the night twice.
Wow.
Twice.
Yeah.
And that's not a story for YouTube. That was deeply, deeply terrifying.
And you can go in it because it's still like a
It had been abandoned since 1981.
Oh, okay.
And
So it wasn't an active church. Okay,
it was not an active church. As a matter of fact, the doors weren't even on it.
So you could just go in if you wanted to.
Yeah, you could just walk in.
Gotcha.
And during the day we had gone in and we'd taken pictures and stuff, and we had a friend, who very, very dear friend of mine. Anytime we took a picture of her, that looked like there was smoke coming off the back of her, almost like wings, on every single picture. And the last picture that I took of her there, she was standing in the doorway, and about a 6-ish, little over 6-footish plume of mist was right behind her, like in a general shape of a man. So that was a little creepy.
And that was in the daytime?
Yeah, that was in the daytime. Now, one of the things that prompted me to leave Seven Churches Road actually was because of the dark church. You're not going to believe me. You're not. I'm going to tell you this right now. You are not going to believe me. You are going to think I'm full of shit if you don't already think I'm full of shit. Which, I mean, you don't know me, so fair. The dark church disappeared for 6 months. Suspenseful drink. So, I had been out to the dark church about 50 times by then.
Yeah.
Legit. 50 times. We'd set up, recorders. We'd set up field cameras and stuff. Like the trap cameras and whatnot. Yeah. To take pictures, to get whatever we could. Until we got smart and realized that, well, they kept dying in like an hour.
So you weren't able to even like...
No, we really didn't get that much.
Yeah.
But we still went out there because, why not?
Like you do.
What else was there to do? And then I went out there one day, and I went out to where it is. And again, I had been out there 50 times before.
Right.
Came around the bend. I didn't see the building. I was like, huh. I guess they finally tore that.
I was going to say,
down.
that would have been my first thought was, oh, they took it down. Like, they got rid of the building.
So I get out, and I go to the foundation. Because this was built on a slab. Mm-hmm. The foundation wasn't there. Now, I had been out there the week before to do stuff there. Our light behind us just turned off. So that's fun. So now you know it's real. So...
I was wondering what changed. I was like, what happened? What the fuck? And the strip is still on?
Yeah, anyway. So I get there. I go to the slab. Slab's not there. I'm like, well, it's possible that they've ripped it up, but there's no loose dirt.
So it's like it never existed. Like it's just like it was never there.
Meadow. Only thing that I knew why that was the place is just off of the property there was a grave, a pauper's grave.
Okay.
That pauper's grave was still there. But where the other graves were supposed to be,
okay,
there were 3 pine trees. Had to have been at least 20 years old.
Instead of those graves. And the church was What did you do? Were you like, what the fuck? And then you like bolted? Like, what'd you do?
So I called my buddy Ray. And I'm like, hey, dude, what did you do to the church?
What do you...
And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, well, it's gone, and the only person that loses shit around here is you. So what did you do with it?
Where did you put it?
So he came out there, and he was like, this is where it's supposed to be. We went up and down the road 5 times that day. It was not there. It was like it had never existed. Until about 6 months later, I'm getting around. I'm doing some other stuff around, because I had made some friends with some of the farmers and stuff out there. So I was,
because you were out there so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one day it just was back, and it's creepy ass, you know,
All its glory.
Yeah. So after that, I was like, you know what? We had one more event out there, which was the last time that I was there at night, and after that, we're like, you know what? We're not coming out here again. It's no.
It's dangerous. It sounds like, yeah.
But it was the weirdest thing because it was the first time that I had ever seen a building just cease to exist for a number of months.
Okay, so we turned our light back on.
Yeah, we were.
It was really bothering me because it was like I noticed that the camera is in front of us, and then below that is the computer, which is why I keep looking down to look at Mike while he's talking. And like I was like, why does it look so different? And then you said that, and I was like, oh no, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I can't wait to go through this film in post and see what happens. Maybe there will be a visitor. Probably not.
There better not be. This is my house. We're filming in my house. Oh God.
So,
anyway.
Yeah, so that's what I've got for tonight.
Yeah, just a couple of little stories about our own experiences.
Yeah, maybe maybe we could do this as a live stream if people are interested.
Mm-hmm.
And actually tell more and go in depth and more
answer
stories.
Questions and
stuff.
Yeah,
I think it'll be fun.
You have a lot more of that stuff than I do. I kind of, after like our last experience or my last experience, I kind of was like, I wasn't interested in having any experiences. I didn't want to have any, so I feel like I just kind of like closed that door.
So let's do this. I'm gonna challenge your viewers, Angel.
Okay.
So if you like this, obviously share. If you like the channel, obviously subscribe.
Mm-hmm.
All that good stuff. If this video gets 50 likes, then I will personally convince Angel to do a live stream, and we do a ghost story night. And we'll go until we run out of ghost stories or we run out of viewers. Whichever comes first.
I was going to say, all the stories you have, we're going to have a few watchers first.
So yeah, if that's something that interests you, like the video, send it to your friends, have them like it. That was not planned. That was creepy as shit for both of us.
You would be able to see if somebody had come in the room and turned it off because the reflection is right there for the doorway. So you would have been able to, and it took me a second to even notice it. Yeah. If it had been planned, it would have been like, what?
Oh, I noticed it immediately.
Oh my God. I don't know why it took me a second. I think because I was just listening and I wasn't paying attention to my surroundings. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that was,
I'm going to be super mad if, like, a bunch of weird shit starts happening in my house. I'm going to be so mad. So, we're filming at your place next time.
So, yeah, 50 likes for this video. Get it out there. Let everybody hear the stories, and we'll tell more stories next time, guys.
Yeah.
You okay with that?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
All right. Let's do it.
So that's Mike. We have another video we're going to do together. We're going to play a horror board game. If you like seeing him, let me know.
Well, and if you don't like seeing me, keep your trap shut.
Only positive vibes in 2021.
But yeah, no, this was super fun. And also, if y'all would like to hear a conversation between a non-horror aficionado and a horror aficionado, let us know too. I think that would be really fun to talk about, like, our experiences and how we, because you've grown up, you've loved horror.
Yeah.
I have not grown up in that same situation.
Yeah.
So I think that would be an interesting conversation to have sometime.
Yeah.
So
maybe find some old stuff to watch too, and just talking about it after the fact. Not some of the newer stuff. The newer stuff.
We definitely need to watch Octopus.
Did you watch Sharknado with us? Were you there the night Melinda and I watched that shit?
Yeah, I was.
I couldn't remember if because I remember that was I think that was when we were snowed in, wasn't it?
But
I think we were snowed in.
But that clip of the witch that I showed you, that was that's from that movie.
Oh yeah, we do need to watch that. Yeah,
so,
that was really cool.
Yeah, so it's like
because you said you were like, "What the fuck is this? How did they do that?" It had to do with the special effects for the time frame, which back then was like nothing. There was no special effects. There were no green screens, no like CGI, but I have like a mass such an appreciation for anything that's like practical effects.
Yeah, practical effects are fantastic.
The shit. I just learned recently there's this like crazy scene in The Conjuring 3 where the little boy like stands up and like his body bends. That was a practical effect. They had somebody stand on the table and do that. I was so sure it was CGI. Yeah. It was not.
No, the practical effects are clean. They always will be. They will always age better than CGI.
Agreed.
But that's a different show.
Or in every show. Yeah. It just depends on how often it comes up in subject matter.
Yeah.
So that's our video on paranormal stories. If you want to see more Mike, hear more stories, share the video, like it. Let us know in the comments. I hope you guys have a good rest of your week and enjoy your weekend. And we will see you in the next one.